All right, well, hello and welcome. I'm the Kodiak Broncos Podcast, and today I'm going to be talking about the Broncos 27-7 preseason win over the Arizona Cardinals. But before we get into it, I just want to say a couple things. First of all, leave a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're not already. You always wait till the end. Hopefully, I'll have earned it. And yeah, without further ado, let's dive right into it. So, I was very happy with a lot of things tonight. I actually watched the game later than I should have been able to because I was at work tonight. You know how service industry can be. But I watched every snap of the game, and I came away very, very happy with a lot of things. I came away happy with Jared Stidham, came away happy with Trent Sherfield again, came away very happy with a lot of things that we're going to talk about in this video. But I think I was most happy with Pat Bryant and Troy Franklin, and they were cooking all night long. And the reason I'm happiest with them is because we've heard a lot of hype train stuff, particularly about Franklin. Like, I know we've heard bits and pieces about Bryant, like, oh, he looks good. And it is valid to ask if it's for real until we see it week 1 against the Tennessee Titans, because honestly, preseason doesn't mean a whole lot. That being said, it is nice to see the hype. Like, we can literally see it right in front of us rather than reading about it on Twitter or something like that. The reason I say that is because Troy Franklin has been basically gaining so much buzz. There's been nobody on this roster, I think, that's been more stock up since the offseason program began than Troy Franklin. And I'm going to keep saying it. It's okay to be disappointed by what he showed last year, but he was still a rookie. It's not like unreasonable to think that he needed some customization to the NFL. And the Broncos seem to finally be tapping into the ceiling that a lot of people really, really liked when he was coming out of Oregon. Another thing about Pat Bryant is that, wow, he looks great over the middle of the field. And Franklin, in particular, just looks to be leaps and bounds better at everything than he was last year. It looks like he's faster. Like, I don't know. I don't have anything to back that up. But it also looks like he keeps his eye on the ball. It looks like his tracking is fine. It looks like he's not uncertain of where to be. It looks like he's not trying to pick up an offense. And I'm just glad that he's used that Buffalo game as a huge launch pad. But, something I thought we needed to be a lot better at last year was playing over the middle of the field. I thought our intermediate passing game was just not good enough down the stretch last season. And, part of that was because we didn't have the weapons to have a real intermediate passing game last year. Like, obviously, we had Troutman and Kroll and Adkins, and we, had Filet consistently, and Mims didn't really take off until the back half of the year. So our middle of the field weaponry was not good at all, like at certain points last year. And I do think it bit us in December when we started to play real teams. Like, we were an explosive offense, but we weren't an efficient one. But with Bryant, a lot of that has gone out the window. And if Bryant can be a steady, short, intermediate, middle of the field weapon, at least for now, that'd be absolutely fantastic. And I think that's exactly what this offense needed. Also, not mentioned in the slideshow, but can we talk about Evan Engram? Holy cow. As soon as we saw that catch and run, I was like, we don't need to see anything else from Engram for the rest of the preseason. So, yeah. Number 2, Jonah Ellis looked like prime J.J. Watt tonight. I'm not even kidding. Like, I have not heard a guy's name be mentioned so much, probably since Abdul Carter in the college football playoffs last year against Notre Dame. Like, literally, Jonah Ellis was in the backfield all night long. He had all the quarterbacks, flustered. He had pressures all on them all night long. And, one of my favorite plays from the night was when Jonah Ellis was not able to get back to the quarterback, but was still bearing down on him. I can't remember particularly if it was Brissett or Toon, but it was the play where him and Barron were both blitzing off the edge. And, both guys just came in super duper hot towards him. But Ellis looked really, really good. And anytime Arizona took a drop back, I was like, Ellis is going to be in the back of the field. And it was really cool. Because Ellis was staying in the game. I think part of that is conditioning, and he's also rehabbing that shoulder, but it looks like he's completely fine there. Looks like the opposite edge was being rotated with Dondre Tillman and Q Robinson. So, yeah, I still expect Q to be more of a project developmental guy who might play, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how much he actually plays this upcoming year. But, I counted 6 pressures from Jonah Ellis all night long, and that's on a very, very limited sample. Or I wouldn't say limited, but he didn't play he did get yanked relatively early. I don't know. I just watched it once through. Maybe when I watch it back, that might not be the case. But he was great in run support, too. And I loved his individual tackling, Thought he made some nice plays on DeMercado and Michael Carter. So, yeah, enjoy the embarrassment of riches at the edge position because, this is the key to being a successful team, being able to just rotate guys and rotate dudes in and out. Benito and Cooper, they need a break on a crucial third down to the point where, it's not worth having them out there. Throw in Jonah Ellis. I don't think anybody's going to bat an eye if that needs to be the case. But yeah, so Jonah Ellis looked absolutely awesome tonight. Number 3, Sean Payton caught me off guard, man. And you know what? I should have known that this was up his sleeve. And I don't think he was particularly trying to do this to like catch us off guard or anything like that. But when the Broncos took the field, I was like, oh, wow, Ingram's playing. Oh, wow, Franklin's playing. Obviously, I expected to see Stidham. I expected to see uh, Sherfield. Like, I expected to see all those guys, play tonight. So I wasn't surprised when they were out there. But Harvey, I was a little surprised to see. There were a handful of guys on the offensive side of the ball that got a little bit of snaps. So I was like, that's a little interesting. One guy who did not get snaps that I thought was really interesting was Devon Bailey. So that must mean it's either really good or really bad. I think I'm erring on the side that it means he's really good, and he's still rehabbing that knee injury or whatever. But yeah, after the joint practice comment when he said, our starters are going to play a lot, or our starters aren't going to play at all, the backups are going to play a lot. I thought he meant like we were going to throw out our third quarter roster with Stidham for the opening drive, and that's not what happened. But yeah, no surprises on the defensive side of the ball, and even the commentators were caught off guard. It was Ryan Harris, and I can't remember who else. I know the dude's voice, but I don't remember his name. But did a good job on commentary tonight. Number 4, the overall takeaway from all these preseason games is, okay, listen, it doesn't mean a whole lot. Like, I'm just going to sit here and say when we're, in October, November, nobody is going to be thinking about the game we had against the 49ers. Nobody's going to be thinking about this game we just had against Arizona. Nobody's going to be thinking about the game we're going to have next Saturday at New Orleans. But the fact that we've won as big as we have over the past 2 games means our roster has a ton of dudes. We have a ton of gamers. We have a ton of dudes who belong in this league, even if it's not with the Denver Broncos, which is the main thing you need to take away. And that speaks to the coaching of Sean Payton. It speaks to the development of the coaching staff and the development of the players throughout training camp, even the guys that aren't going to make the 53-man roster. And it speaks to George Payton and the roster that he's been able to assemble, because ultimately, he is in charge overall of the resources, even if Sean Payton is in charge of most of the big decisions. But yeah, but schematically, Sean Payton and Vance Joseph, they just get in their bag during these preseason games. And when you have a strong coaching staff, I think the fact that you're winning as many preseason games as you are, I think that's kind of the mark of a really successful competitive team. And the reason I say that we're successful is because the offense, it's efficient no matter who the quarterback is. I was hoping to see Crawshaw a lot tonight. We saw him twice. And I was hoping to see him again in the final drive of the game. But then Blake Watson puts a sick move on a guy, and I'm just like, all right, cool. So I guess we're not going to see Crawshaw. And then the defense is clamps no matter who the quarterback is. Now, I did think it was funny that Mathis and Key, the 2 guys who get shit on the most in Broncos country, did allow that touchdown to Simi Fehoko. But 8 first downs all game for Arizona. That tells you something. That tells you that your defense was clamps. And I don't know how their third down conversion rate was. I'm actually going to try to pull that up as I'm watching this. Okay, 2 for 13. Arizona went 2 for 13 on third down. So, yeah, honestly, if you had asked me what Arizona went on third down, I would have said way worse than 2 for 13. I probably would have been like 0 for like 90 or something like that. Not actually, but you get where I'm heading with that. Number 5. All right, time to talk about the messy things. I know it's hard to talk about these things when you just won 27-7, but ultimately these games don't count. And when you're playing against the Tennessee Titans week 1, you're still going to have a 0 on your record in both columns. So here are the messy things that I did notice. First of all, I'm floored with Palczewski. I'm so floored with Palczewski because he didn't get benched tonight because of the fact that he was playing poorly or anything like that. He was just committing penalties that you would never have realized that this dude was in his 3rd year in the NFL and had played really, really well last year when was called upon to relieve McGlinchey at right tackle when McGlinchey was hurt. And he played really, really well. And I was like, all right, we have our swing tackle of the future, maybe future starter. But, he got all those penalties tonight. And then I noticed that he got benched for Crum. Like, I remember I saw after he got that penalty, the second penalty, that he, was put on the bench. And you bet your ass that Sean Payton was absolutely ripping into him. You bet your ass that Zach Strief is not going to make Palczewski forget about what he did. Even though he wasn't the only one. Like, there were a lot of pre-snap penalties, which is my last point of the slide. But I wasn't encouraged with Crawshaw's first punch. So, talking about what we did see from Crawshaw, he's still a unique player, a new player. So, I still want to see as much from him as we possibly can. But I don't know. It's just a little interesting. Wasn't encouraged with the first punt. I think the hang time Mace tweeted was like 3.8 seconds, which is just not good, especially when we've been hearing that he's been booting punts that are hanging in the air above 5 seconds uh, during training camp. So obviously you want higher hang time to allow your gunners to get downfield and allow your coverage to get downfield and take care of the rest. But the second punt, holy cow! Like what a strike! I don't know how many yards that went in the air. I think it was like 65, 70 yards if I had to guess. But it was a touchback. And you know what? I was tired of these like 30-yard net punts from Crawshaw. So, you just got to find your consistency. I still think that he'll be fine because of Darren Rizzi coaching him and Sean Payton low-key being a special team savant. But not enough direction or aim on the second punt. But you know what? I still thought I was more than encouraged. I will take that. And I'll just be like, all right, figure out the accuracy later. But Caleb Lohner. That was pretty, like, low key. This was kind of funny because Caleb Lohner has been a guy that's talked about a lot in Broncos country because I think we all know that he's going to be a developmental player. And what do you know? Tonight he was a developmental player. There were 3 penalties on him. There were 2 penalties drawn against him, meaning like the defenders literally committed pass interference or holding against him. But I thought it was funny. I think one of the penalties on Lohner was a hold. I think the other was like an alignment call and a false start. If my memory serves me correct, sorry. I probably should have checked that before I started recording this, but you know what? Caleb Lohner, he was, the only way I can describe him is he was a whirlwind in our first extensive look at him. And I counted 9 penalties against the offense, and pretty much all of them were pre-snap. And you know what? That's something that Sean Payton's going to be in the press conference saying, you know what? When he says there's some things we got to clean up, usually he's talking about that stuff. And I know he says that a lot, so yeah, but for a team with Super Bowl expectations, you just got to iron these things out. I mean, it looked like a preseason game above all else. Like, there was no, like, there's no point where I'm just like, wow, this is a pretty clean game from both sides. Like, yes, our offense played very, very well. Um, but yeah, those are the overall 5 things we learned. One thing I did not say that I do want to mention is that if a QB needy team comes calling for Jarrett Stidham, there's a chance that they are going to give up some value because that is the kind of preseason that he is having. And I don't think the Broncos would be uh, like, no, we're not trading him. Like, I think obviously the organization wants to do right by the players. So if a team called and was like, hey, we need Stiddy to potentially be a fringe QB1, then I think the Broncos would be like, yeah. And he is playing himself into that role right now. Like, Jarrett Stidham has been absolutely on fire. He looks like one of the game's very best backups. Should have put a slide together for that. I wanted to put together an honorable mention, but that's something that I'm just like, we'll just wing it. But yeah, so that basically does it for me. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, salute.